I'm sitting in stunned silence, my eyes fixed on the person I thought I knew better than anyone, my partner of 10 years, as he finally cracks under the pressure and confesses to watching his coworker's OnlyFans. The conversation that led to this moment started innocently enough, with a TV show we were watching that mentioned OnlyFans, and I jokingly asked if he'd ever used it. His reaction was immediate and telling, a blank stare, a nervous laugh, and a reluctance to meet my eyes. I pressed him, sensing that something was off, and he eventually cracked, revealing a secret he'd kept hidden for years. My partner and I have been together for a decade, building a life filled with love, trust, and mutual respect. We've always been open about our desires and boundaries, and I thought I knew him inside and out. But as it turns out, I was wrong. The revelation that he'd been watching his coworker's OnlyFans, someone I'd probably met while visiting his workplace, feels like a betrayal of the worst kind. It's not just the act itself that hurts, but the fact that he lied to me repeatedly when I asked him about it. The defensiveness, the downplaying, the insistence that it wasn't a big deal, it all feels like a slap in the face. As I look back on our relationship, I realize that this isn't the first time he's kept secrets from me. There was the emotional affair he had with a woman he worked with, which he only confessed to after I confronted him about it. I'd had my suspicions, but he'd sworn up and down that they were just friends. It took months for us to work through that betrayal, and I thought we'd come out stronger on the other side. But now I'm not so sure. The fact that he's kept this secret for so long, that he's been watching someone he knew in real life, someone we'd both met, it feels like a whole different level of betrayal. The conversation that followed his confession was tense, to say the least. He cycled through emotions, defensiveness, irritation, and finally, shame. He told me that he'd watched the coworker's OnlyFans out of curiosity, that he'd been young and stupid, and that it had only happened for a few weeks. But the details are murky, and I'm not sure I believe him. What I do know is that he's deeply ashamed, and that he's been carrying this secret for years. He's sorry, he says, not just for what he did, but for lying to me, for downplaying my feelings, and for trying to shut the conversation down. As we talked, I felt a mix of emotions: hurt, anger, panic. I told him that he'd had years to process his actions, while I'd had less than 20 minutes. I needed time to understand what had happened, to process my feelings, and to figure out how to move forward. He apologized sincerely and acknowledged that he'd been wrong to lie to me, to downplay my feelings, and to try to shut the conversation down. It was a start, but it wasn't enough. I needed more time, more space, and more honesty. The next morning, he checked in with me, asking if we were okay. I told him we would be, but I needed time. And that's where I am now, stuck in limbo, trying to make sense of my feelings and trying to figure out how to move forward. I'm seeking outside perspectives, hoping to find some clarity and guidance. I'm wondering what questions I should ask him, how I should handle the lying, and how I can rebuild my trust. I'm also wondering if anyone else has dealt with something similar and how they navigated the aftermath. As I reflect on our relationship, I realize that we've always been sex positive, open to exploring our desires and boundaries. But this feels different. This feels like a betrayal of the worst kind, a crossing of a boundary that I thought was clear. I'm trying to understand why he did it, why he kept it a secret, and why he lied to me. I'm trying to understand my own feelings, my own reactions, and my own boundaries. And I'm trying to figure out how to move forward, how to rebuild our relationship, and how to trust him again. The fact that I'm still processing my emotions, that I'm still trying to make sense of this betrayal, is what's keeping me up at night. I'm wondering what else I don't know, what else he might be hiding. I'm wondering if I'll ever be able to trust him fully again, or if this will always be a source of tension in our relationship. I'm wondering if our relationship is strong enough to withstand this, or if it will ultimately be the thing that tears us apart. I'm looking for answers, for guidance, and for support. I'm looking for a way to navigate this complex web of emotions, to rebuild my trust, and to move forward. And I'm hoping that by sharing my story, I might find some solace, some comfort, and some clarity. Was I right to feel betrayed, or should I be more understanding?
If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Drop your verdict in the comments below, subscribe for new stories every single day, and hit the notification bell so you never miss one.